The morning light filtered through the translucent dome of the habitat module, casting soft, purple hues across Alara Wynn's face. She stirred, consciousness returning slowly, until she felt the familiar weight pressing against her chest and the delicate touch of tiny paws patting her cheeks. "Don't leave again, please." The words came as a whisper, transmitted directly into her neural link, a plea so raw and desperate that Alara's eyes snapped open. Tavo sat perched on her sternum, his luminescent fur rippling with anxiety, those enormous amber eyes fixed on hers with an intensity that made her heart ache. "Tavo," she murmured, reaching up to gently stroke the cub's head. His species, the Velthani, resembled nothing so much as a cross between an earth fox and a star, small, quadrupedal, but covered in fur that shifted colors with their emotions. Right now, Tavo's coat flickered between deep blue and gray, the colors of fear and sadness. "You promised last time," Tavo's mental voice accused, small and trembling. Alara closed her eyes, guilt washing over her. The salvage mission to the Kepler debris field had taken longer than expected. Equipment failures, a solar storm, complications that seemed minor in the moment but had stolen 4 precious cycles from a small creature who counted each one. "I know," she said softly. The Velthani homeworld had been destroyed 6 months ago, not by war or natural disaster, but by simple, preventable negligence. A mining corporation, human-owned, had destabilized the planet's core while extracting rare minerals. The evacuation had been chaotic. Most Velthani escaped, but hundreds of cubs, separated from their parents in the panic, had been left behind in the orbital stations. Alara had been part of the rescue team. She'd found Tavo huddled in a maintenance shaft, half-starved, his fur completely gray with trauma. The moment their eyes met, something had shifted in her chest, a recognition, a responsibility she couldn't name but couldn't ignore. The thing about Velthani cubs was that they bonded, not metaphorically, but neurologically. Their developing brains latched onto a caregiver's neural signature, creating a connection that was part telepathy, part empathy, and entirely essential to their survival. Without that bond, they simply faded away. Tavo had chosen her. "The coalition wants me to testify," Alara said, sitting up carefully so Tavo could resettle in her lap. "About what happened to your world. About the corporation's negligence." "Then go," Tavo whispered, but his fur deepened to indigo, the color of despair. "That's 3 weeks on a transport ship, 2 weeks of depositions, and 3 weeks back. 2 months, Tavo. I'll be here when you return. Will you?" Alara asked gently, running her fingers through his soft fur. She could feel his heart racing beneath her touch. Feel the way his small body trembled. The Velthani medical staff had been clear. Extended separations could break the bond, and a broken bond was a death sentence for a cub who'd already lost everything. Tavo didn't answer. They both knew the truth. Alara looked around her quarters, small, functional, covered in the detritus of a life spent jumping from one emergency to the next. She was a salvage engineer, one of the best. Her skills were in constant demand across the Coalition's territories. She fixed the unfixable, recovered the unrecoverable, went where others couldn't or wouldn't go. She'd never stayed anywhere longer than a few months, never put down roots, never made promises she couldn't keep. Until now. "What if I don't go?" The words surprised her, even as she spoke them. Tavo's head jerked up, his fur flickering rapidly through a spectrum of colors, confusion, hope, disbelief. "You have to go. Humans need to know what happened. Other worlds need to know. I can send my testimony remotely, submit my reports, my evidence, my photographs. I don't have to be there in person. They want you there. You told me. The impact is greater when—" "I know what I told you," Alara interrupted. "But here's what they didn't tell us, Tavo. About humans, I mean." She shifted, crossing her legs so the cub could curl more comfortably in the space they created. "We're good at a lot of things. We're innovative, adaptable, stubborn as hell. We spread across the galaxy because we're really, really good at surviving." Tavo tilted his head, listening. "But we're also really good at breaking things. Alara continued, her voice soft. Relationships. Promises. Whole planets. Apparently. We get so focused on the mission, the next challenge, the bigger picture, that we forget about the small things. The important things. Her hand continued its gentle stroking, and she felt Tavo's heartbeat begin to slow, his breathing deepen. The thing about humans, she said, is that we're capable of extraordinary loyalty when we choose to be. When we decide something matters more than our own wanderlust or ambition, or need to be important, we can stay, we can commit, we can be present. You're staying? The hope in Tavo's mental voice was almost painful. Alara took a breath, feeling the weight of the decision settle around her shoulders like a mantle. She thought of the coalition hearing, of her reputation, of all the missions waiting for someone with her expertise. Then she looked down at the small creature in her lap, whose entire world had been destroyed by human greed, and who had somehow found the courage to trust a human again. Yeah, she said. Tavo's fur exploded into brilliant gold, the color of pure joy. He scrambled up her chest, pressing his small face against her neck, and Alara felt the wave of emotion through their bond relief. Happiness. Love so fierce and complete it made her eyes sting. I'll submit my testimony remotely, she said, wrapping her arms around him. And then I'm putting in for a permanent position at the refugee center. No more salvage missions. No more leaving. Promise? Tavo whispered. Alara Wynn, who had spent her entire adult life avoiding permanent attachments, who had prided herself on her independence and mobility, felt something shift and settle deep in her chest. It felt like an anchor. It felt like home. I promise, she said. You're stuck with me now, kid. And this time, she meant it. Because that was the real truth about humanity, not their ability to explore or conquer or survive, but their capacity to choose love over everything else. To let a tiny creature with glowing fur and enormous trust rewrite the entire trajectory of their lives. To stay. Tavo purred against her throat. A sound like distant music. And for the first time in months, his fur settled into a steady, peaceful silver. The color of contentment. Alara held him close and watched the purple morning light paint patterns across their small sanctuary, and she didn't think about the missions she was leaving behind or the reputation she might lose. She only thought about keeping her promise.